God Help the Child by Toni Morrison. Summary, Part 1. The story begins with Sweetness, a light-skinned African-American woman, explaining why she was so hard on her daughter, Lula Ann. Sweetness reveals that when Lula Ann was born, her skin was so dark it shocked both parents. Fearing the difficulties her daughter would face in a racist society, Sweetness treated Lula Ann harshly, believing it would toughen her up for the cruel world. We then meet the adult Lula Ann, now going by the name Bride. She's a stunning woman with blue-black skin, working as an executive at a cosmetics company. Despite her success, Bride is struggling emotionally because her boyfriend, Booker, left her suddenly with only the cryptic words, "You're not the woman I want." Trying to boost her self-esteem, Bride decides to visit Sophia Huxley, a woman who has just been released from prison. 15 years ago, Bride, then a young girl, had falsely accused Sophia of child molestation. Bride brings Sophia gifts, money, makeup, and a travel voucher, as a way to make amends. However, when Bride meets Sophia at a motel, things go horribly wrong. Sophia, recognizing Bride, flies into a rage and brutally beats her. This violent encounter leaves Bride both physically and emotionally shaken. As Bride recovers from her injuries, she notices strange changes in her body. Her ear piercings close up, her pubic hair disappears, and her breasts seem to shrink. It's as if her body is regressing to a prepubescent state. These changes confuse and frighten Bride, adding to her emotional turmoil. Part 2. Determined to find Booker and understand why he left, Bride discovers his forwarding address is in a small town called Whiskey. She sets out on a road trip in her fancy Jaguar, hoping for answers and reconciliation. However, Bride's journey takes an unexpected turn when she crashes her car into a tree on a remote country road. Luckily, she's rescued by a kind hippie couple, Steve and Evelyn, and their young foster daughter, Rain. Bride spends 6 weeks recovering with this unconventional family. During this time, she bonds with Rain, a girl with a heartbreaking past. Rain reveals that before being rescued by Steve and Evelyn, she was forced into child prostitution by her own mother. This shocking revelation deeply affects Bride, making her reflect on her own childhood and the nature of motherhood. As Bride heals, she also notices more changes in her body. Her period stops, and she wonders if she might be pregnant. The time with this loving family gives Bride a chance to heal not just physically, but emotionally as well. Once she's well enough to travel, Bride says goodbye to the family and continues her journey to find Booker in Whiskey. Part 3. This section shifts focus to Booker's background, helping us understand the man who left Bride so abruptly. We learn that Booker's life was forever changed when he was a child. His beloved older brother, Adam, was kidnapped and murdered by a sexual predator. This traumatic event fractured Booker's family. His parents, overwhelmed by grief, became emotionally distant. Booker, unable to process his pain, grew into a troubled young man. Despite his inner turmoil, Booker managed to become a graduate student in economics. However, he couldn't let go of his brother's death, and this led him to cut ties with his family, believing they had moved on too easily. Through flashbacks, we see how Booker met Bride at a concert. They fell deeply in love, finding solace and joy in each other. But their relationship hit a breaking point when Booker learned of Bride's plan to meet Sophia. Unaware of the full story, Booker assumed Bride was sympathizing with a child molester. This misunderstanding, coupled with his unresolved trauma, led him to leave Bride. Part 4. Bride finally arrives in Whiskey and meets Queen Olive, Booker's aunt. Queen is a strong, independent woman who has been a mother figure to Booker. She gives Bride Booker's address, sensing that these two young people need to work things out. When Bride and Booker reunite, it's explosive. They argue fiercely, with years of hurt and misunderstanding coming to the surface. Booker demands to know why Bride would defend a child molester. Finally, Bride explains the truth about her false testimony and her attempt to make amends with Sophia. Their confrontation is interrupted when Queen's house catches fire. Bride and Booker work together to rescue Queen, who is badly burned. As Queen recovers in the hospital, Bride and Booker care for her, slowly rebuilding their relationship in the process. Tragically, Queen contracts a hospital-borne illness and dies. Booker, grief-stricken, holds an impromptu memorial for her. This shared loss brings Bride and Booker closer, helping them heal old wounds. After the memorial, in a quiet moment, Bride reveals to Booker that she's pregnant with his child. This news marks a turning point for them. Despite their past hurts and misunderstandings, they decide to stay together and face the future as a family. The novel ends with a reflection from Sweetness, Bride's mother. She predicts that Bride will face a rude awakening as she becomes a mother herself, hinting at the complexities and challenges of parenthood. Throughout the story, Morrison weaves in themes of racism, the long-lasting effects of childhood trauma, the complexities of mother-daughter relationships, and the possibility of healing and redemption. The characters' journeys show how the past shapes us, but also how we can choose to move forward and create a better future. Characters: 1. Lula and Bridewell. Bride, the protagonist, a dark-skinned woman who renames herself Bride. She struggles with childhood trauma and seeks love and acceptance. 2. Sweetness, Bride's light-skinned mother who treats her daughter cruelly due to her dark skin color, believing she's preparing her for a racist world. 3. Booker Starburn, Bride's ex-boyfriend who left her. He has his own traumatic past related to his brother's murder. 4. Sophia Huxley, a woman falsely accused of child molestation by Bride when she was young. 5. Brooklyn, Bride's white, dreadlocked best friend and co-worker. 6. Queen Olive, Booker's aunt, an independent older woman, who plays a crucial role in reuniting Bride and Booker. 7. Rain, a young girl rescued by Steve and Evelyn, who has a history of being sexually trafficked by her mother. 8. Steve and Evelyn, a hippie couple who rescue and care for Bride after her car accident. 9. Louis Bridewell, Bride's father who abandons the family, assuming Bride isn't his due to her dark skin. Themes: 1. Colorism. The novel explores how skin color affects relationships within the black community, particularly between Bride and her mother. 2. Childhood trauma. Many characters, including Bride, Booker, and Rain, deal with the lasting effects of traumatic childhood experiences. 3. Mother-daughter relationships. The complex and often fraught relationship between Bride and Sweetness is a central theme. 4. Identity and self-acceptance. Bride's journey to accept herself and overcome her childhood trauma is a key theme. 5. Love and redemption. The relationship between Bride and Booker, and their path to reconciliation, explores these themes. 6. Child abuse. The novel touches on various forms of child abuse and its long-lasting impact. 7. Racism and its effects. The story examines how systemic racism shapes characters' lives and decisions. 8. The power of truth and lies. Bride's false testimony against Sophia and its consequences play a significant role in the story. 9. Healing and growth. Characters like Bride and Booker must confront their past to move forward and grow. 10. The impact of appearance on self-worth. Bride's experiences highlight how physical appearance can affect one's sense of self and treatment by others. These characters and themes interweave throughout the novel, creating a complex narrative about race, trauma, and the search for love and acceptance.